The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those knuckleheads of liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on March 2nd, 2022. And I always start off the shows by saying, I'm surprised we've made it this far with Biden and COVID on both sides of us. And now here we are facing down maybe a World War III. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. And my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So Ukraine can't really get away from it right now. It's sort of eclipsing all other things, sort of got it all. It's like World War Z. We've got a zombie for a president and, maybe a, world on the brink of destruction. It's pretty crazy. And it seems to almost to be a cure for COVID too, because now suddenly almost nobody's talking about COVID and the masks have come off. So, who knew, that Putin would be the cure for that. But, it does bring up some, serious stuff to think about, as far as having a government and all that. But I mean, it's the high cost of projecting weakness in both a president and a military. And, for libertarians, we like to think of militaries mostly for defense. So whether or not we should be over there is a question altogether. But the fact that we are over there and we're projecting such weakness is not a good thing. And that's and of course, in fact, let me start bringing up some of the images now, if we could get some of those too. So, so this is what's going on over there. Essentially, got CNN reporting on it for us, and it's a fiery but mostly peaceful invasion. But on a more serious note, though, how did we get here in this projection of weakness? And, we had a president who literally what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, where he was giving a press conference and he literally said, well, if it's a minor incursion, maybe we won't do anything about it.
Exactly.
And to which the Ukrainian president immediately was telling the world, no, there are no minor incursions.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, did this give Putin the green light? Who knows? But it's just projecting weakness. You guys, also too, with the military, and I sorry I didn't have a image here, but we had talked about this before on the show. Tucker Carlson did a piece a while back where he was sort of making fun of some of the things the military was doing with all their wokeness and the idea that sort of maternity suits for fighter pilots and such. It just seemed like kind of a it's almost like it's the focus even in the right place, and we're advertising that to the world as well. So, anyways, you guys have any thoughts on this projection of weakness? And
well, I have some thoughts about flight suits for pregnant female fighter pilots. I think, instead of having the flight suit made, why don't you just, they can do other things. They don't have to be flying the jet when they're pregnant. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't know. I guess it remains to be seen how well they perform in a jet, which pulls a lot of G's, by the way. And the F-16 can pull up to 9 G's. So being pregnant, I can't imagine how taxing that would be on the body of the pilot, the female pilot. So I don't know, but I mean, that's
female. Is there a difference, Tim? I thought there were no males and females.
We only have gluten people these days. Yes. Yeah. And we have
birthing pilots
and everything else. Good Lord.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, where's the genderness in pilot, right? Or even fighter pilot? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I wouldn't be designing a flight suit to allow for a big tummy. Well, maybe you might want to allow for a big tummy, but not too many fighter pilots are in that bad of shape. You have to be in really good shape to be able to even do it. I mean, it's hard on the body, really hard. And then imagine you're pregnant. You got the flight suit that allows for your excess uh, um, roundness in the belly section. What happens if you have to eject? I mean, that injures or it can kill you. I mean, it's no fun. It's no picnic to eject from a fighter jet. Okay, so what happens then? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But see, for Tucker, the military, come on, you're going to give Tucker Carlson a bad time about having an opinion. I know he did serve in the military. I didn't either. Okay, it doesn't mean I don't have an opinion about it. It doesn't mean I can't voice an opinion.
Exactly.
If I'm all wet, tell me why. If there's something I'm missing here, what is it easy to eject from a fighter jet? And also, if I'm criticizing, a fighter suit, fighter pilot suit, if you're in the military, so you're some grunt in the army, that carried an M16 in Vietnam, and you can criticize it, but I can't. Seriously? How many fighter pilots are there in the whole world? It's the tiniest of the tiny. Already the pilot population is infinitesimally small compared to the rest of the population. So you're going to say, I don't have or this other guy, this whatever his name is on Fox News, he can't have an opinion? No, he can have an opinion too. And if it's right or wrong, talk about it. Don't just say, oh my God, you can't have that on military bases now. The gall, the unmitigated gall for him to say that this is nonsense and it's a projection of weakness, and it is. So I don't know. Let's talk about it. What do you say, Leon? Should we talk?
Well, you see, wokeness is coming to the military. That's what's happening. Wokeness is coming to the military. Now, I have no problem with women being fighter pilots or women taking part in if they want to be infantry. I have no problem with it, but I don't want different standards for women. I don't. Okay, if men have to carry 60 pounds or whatever it is, the weight they have to carry over this long distance, if they have to be in war. If a woman has to qualify, she has to qualify under the same standard. But you see what has happened in the military, and this has been going on here for quite a while, is that they have one standard for the men who have fought and won most of the wars that the United States have ever had. And then they have developed new standards for women. They don't have to run as fast, they don't have to run as long, and they don't have to carry as much weight. There is a biological reality that everybody wants to ignore in the name of wokeness. Oh, women could be serve just as well as men. No, they cannot. I don't want to be in war and some woman right next to me having a bad day because of a period. It's a biological reality. We can't get away from it. So,
well,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you two may give us a strike here, with your anti-wokeness there. Go ahead. Let's get that strike. Come on. Maybe we can advertise that. That'll help.
Yes, that's right. But we have to stop. We have to stop. This is dangerous stuff here we're talking, okay? And Tim, you're right. If a pregnant woman is flying, she's at risk for herself and a risk for her unborn child. Yeah. We should not be permitting this. I mean, everybody's going to say, oh, it's so horrible. We are denying equal rights for women. No, we are not. It's a biological reality that we have to deal with.
Well, you know what makes maybe a little more sense is just to have military jobs where, you have different requirements for the different jobs. So, I mean, maybe there's some jobs that women are going to do just fine for, and there's some jobs maybe they won't do just fine for, but True. Let it be that they could always test to that, right? And then if you get super alpha woman, then she's right up there with all the fighter pilots, and and maybe, a lot of others are in more of support roles or something. I don't know.
Well, you see, but Jason, this is just the point I'm trying to make. I want a merit-based military.
Yeah.
So if there are things that women will more qualify for maybe support roles, maybe being medics in the military and that kind of stuff, fine. And they tend to do these things more than men can. That's okay, right? But if you want to do other things, like you want to be on the lines, like infantry, or you want to be a fighter pilot and that kind of stuff, you qualify just like the men. Okay, and when you're pregnant, you cannot be in the cockpit. Seriously, I might get a strike from YouTube for that, but so be it.
Well, I know for a fact that the Navy treats their fighter pilots as officers number one first, and pilots number two. That's their secondary job. So when they're assigned to an aircraft carrier, they're given a main job as an officer, and they lead the other sailors underneath them. And do whatever it is, whatever role they have. And there's many different roles, and they occupy a lot of their time doing that. So just like if you get sick, or if you have something with your inner ear, or you have some issue that's going on, and it lasts maybe as long as 9 months, you'll be out of the flight. You'll be off the flight line, and you'll have other duties to do. And it doesn't matter what branch you're in. You could be in the Air Force. They give you other things to do. You're an officer still. Right. It's not like you're worthless. Oh my God, can't get into the F-16 or F-35 now or whatever. Now what do we do with her? Oh, gee whiz. Let me figure something out here. Go take the garbage out or something. No, they've got tons of stuff for them to do. So just don't give me all this nonsense. This is just nonsense. And I don't have an opinion. Okay. What is it? Spoiler alert qualification here. That's just my stupid opinion, not having been in the military. I apologize. Okay. You of great military stature, you of accomplishment in all the military things that you've done, the medals that you've won, the wars you've fought, the battles you've overcome in. So, you have a right to that opinion, but I'm just full of malarkey.
Yeah. Well, speaking of opinions and stuff, I just want to make sure we get to some of these other items in Ukraine too. But one of the items, is, should we even be there? I mean, should this problem be a problem right now? And maybe I could get the image up there. But this is one of the things that's been coming out, is that when the Soviet Union fell, there was kind of an understanding, and it's hard. There's a little bit of debate about whether or not the NATO allies promised or not, but there was kind of an understanding that Soviet Union's collapsing, and it's letting the Warsaw Pact up, and so all these countries are sort of free to do what they're going to do, but don't move your military right up to our border, is sort of what the understanding, I guess, was. And but ever since, essentially, the American presidents and NATO have been trying to, I guess, get closer and closer to the Russian border. And this is one of the things that Putin has said was, the trigger to all this, is that, look, ever since this collapse happened in, I think, 94 or something like that, you guys have been adding more and more countries to NATO and coming right up to our doorstep and positioning military there. And we're not comfortable with that. And if you think of the converse, when Cuba decided that, they were a free country, so to speak, and they were going to put missiles right there in Cuba, we called that an act of war. So, what point, I guess, do we, is this completely something that we should be saying that there's just this evil bad guy named Putin and he's the cause of all the problems? Or should we think maybe we're trying to police the world a little too much here? What do you guys think?
Well, I can see a point making the analogy with Cuba during the Kennedy administration, when we almost got to the brink of nuclear war because the Soviet Union was trying to set up shop in Cuba. And I can see it's a valid point that Russia will feel the same thing if we, as NATO expand to close to its border. NATO is already in the Baltic states, which borders Russia, and and Ukraine have asked to join NATO, and of course Ukraine borders Russia also. So I can see the difficulty that Russia may have with this in terms of the military expansion so close to its border. However, I believe in sovereign countries, okay? And all of these countries are supposed to be independent and sovereign and making choices of their own. And I don't think it justifies any form of military action against a country, say like Ukraine, who decides they want to join. If they decided to join NATO, NATO have not accepted that wish. But if they choose to join NATO, it doesn't justify invasion. And Putin have gone way beyond his authority. If he wanted to set up stronger military along inside Russia, but along the borders of Ukraine, fine, he can do that. That is his option. But it doesn't justify invasion. It really does not.
Well, there's a theory posited by someone more knowledgeable than I that when little small, not so powerful countries like Russia do this kind of thing, and I'm not talking about their nuclear arsenal, I'm just talking about their GDP and their basic wealth and their ability to actually do this kind of nonsense. When they do that, it's people are scratching their heads like, what's wrong with this guy? The usual reason is because they're backed into a corner and they have to do something to bring people to the negotiating table, even if it's something as non-self-serving as invading the neighboring country. That is kind of the crux of the issue. And so, yeah, you have to, I don't know what the exact arrangements are, but I thought that the country had to be invited to join NATO, or at least they have to be allowed to join NATO. They can't just
they can ask to join. They can ask to join, and NATO will have to accept it if they have to join.
Okay, fine. NATO doesn't have to accept them. First of all, the United States is NATO. All this other nonsense about, is NATO all these countries? And they're all putting the same amount of their GDP toward defense. It's complete and total nonsense. No, the United States government, the United States military is the one and only NATO. That's it. Okay? Everybody else is just tiny little stage hands. We're the number one thing. And we have no room to criticize invading countries. Hello, Yemen. Hello, Libya. Hello, Syria. Hello, Iraq. Hello, Afghanistan. I could go on and on and on. So, United States government, shut up. You cannot criticize somebody else. But it can't be allowed either. So for the one time that you're right with this whole Russia thing, doesn't mean that you're right for the right reasons. You're right for the wrong reasons to oppose a Putin invasion, but the invasion is something going on?
You started to freeze for a second, but you know what? Our invisible hand just joined us, and let's see what our invisible hand has.
Well, you were talking about NATO, and I want to say the one thing I've actually been thankful for kind of in the past 70 years as a student of history is that NATO exists to prevent an armed Germany. And fundamentally, that's why NATO exists, is to prevent Germany from rearming. It's so the United States pays for all that defense to keep Europe from fighting with each other. And at the end of the day, the biggest danger of this whole Putin thing is a rearmed Germany. And not just Germany now, because remember, Germany leads the EU. So it's not just Germany. It's essentially the Fourth Reich. The EU is the Fourth Reich. And so I'm not happy about the direction these things are going.
They're all a little woke for a Fourth Reich.
But James,
that was very well put.
Are we postulating that there's something fundamentally flawed in the German character that will make them different from the rest of the civilized world if they are armed. So we are armed to the teeth. The United States is. Russia is armed to the teeth. And many other countries around the world are armed to the teeth. Is it different for Germany if they
it's not just Germany? It's it's essentially all of Europe has a long, literally thousands-year history of fighting with everybody they can get their hands on. So if the U.S. parking themselves in the middle of all that mess keeps them from doing that, I'm happy to pay for that. That's the one thing I'm actually happy to pay for. Yeah. This is not just the whole world has a tendency to do that, but Europeans have an extra special history of doing that. They just do, and so I don't want them to be rearmed. I really don't.
But are you comfortable with Mr. Magoo Biden walking around pointing guns around over there?
As my own Mr. Magoo, no, I wouldn't want me blind guy having a gun. So no, but this is a bad. We're in a bad spot with the wrong people leading the way, but it still doesn't mean I want the EU, which is led by Germany, to be armed back in Europe. It's just not a good idea. Historically, it's just not a freaking good idea. And I don't want to.
James, I can see your concern, and I understand why you may feel that way, given what happened during the World War II period, and during World War I and World War II. World War II was just a continuation of World War I, really.
And the 100 Years' Wars and the Crusade and the.
I totally see your concern here. I'm not going to dismiss it. Okay, but we have been paying for the last 70 years, and you raised the point about paying. We have been paying for the defense of Europe through NATO and other means. We have been paying for that into the trillions of dollars for the last 70 years. Some of these countries, are well developed. Why can't they pay for their own defense? I don't know why that should not be the case.
They want to write us some checks. I'm happy to do it. I want to defend them. They want to send us some money so we can do it. Great, but I don't want them armed. I just don't.
Okay, I think the other question would be, do you need, in order to keep Germany from rearming, do you need to expand NATO around the only country that gets pissed off about it, and the only country we did promise not to move 1 inch closer? Okay.
No, we didn't promise.
Maybe
that.
it would.
No,
it was verbal.
We did promise
yes,
it
was not a promise.
Yes, we did.
There's enough.
I think it's debatable
whether they're irrelevant.
We'll have to check on that one, but it was not a promise.
Yeah.
When the Soviet Union broke up, all those states were independent of Russia, and they were free to make their choices. There was no promise of us not expanding NATO.
Okay, fine. They could want to join, but we didn't.
And as a matter of fact, wait. Let me finish my point. As a matter of fact, we expanded into the Baltics, which borders Russia. Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia.
So that's my question to think about, and to maybe James might have an answer. But to keep Germany from being rearmed, do you have to surround Russia, move right up to their borders, to keep Germany from being rearmed, or can you kind of leave it the way it was? We're still number one on the block. We're running the show here. We're going to keep Germany from arming. Okay.
Theoretically, Tim, you're right. You could have kept those border states, the kind of the border states, completely unarmed. Either way would have been best. Mm-hmm. You're actually right. Completing a border between an unarmed border.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
A buffer zone. Yeah.
Essentially, no man's land.
You know what? Even though today, honest to God, it doesn't make any difference. If we wanted to bomb Russia, we could do it from space. It's just ridiculous.
It's been that way for.
Now we can't bomb without consequences, though. Even if we want to bomb, we can't bomb without consequences.
You're right.
Come back at us.
But there's another reason those little countries want U.S. bases there. It's called economics.
Yeah.
Those U.S. bases spend a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? Speaking of bombing without consequences, we're getting close to the end of our show, and it's time for our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. And the people who continuously bomb without consequences are the ladies of the View. And so the one I want to share with you, can we get the image of this one up there? Okay, yeah. So and this has been all around it. So I'll read you what she said. But apparently though, they're showing their true stripes of what's really important about this war. And so Sunny Hostin she's one of the ladies of the View, and she was talking about the consequences of what's happening over there in Ukraine. And so she said, what I also thought was about the fact that estimates are 50,000 Ukrainians will be dead or wounded, and that this is going to start a humanitarian crisis, a refugee crisis in Europe. We're talking about 5 million people that are going to be displaced. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear what's going to happen. At which point, her co-host, Joy Behar, jumped in and said, well, I'm scared what's going to happen in Western Europe, too. You plan a trip, you want to go there. I wanted to go to Italy for 4 years. I haven't been able to make it because of the pandemic. And now it's like what's going to happen there, too? So, I mean, it's funny. I mean, people can just have all these crazy and sensitive views. But, I mean, these are the people who are constantly pulling at us to spend more on welfare-type programs and other government assistance, whatever it be. These are, and then suddenly, when you're talking about something that Sunny Hostin literally just said before, what the real consequences of this war were, maybe, who knows, nuclear weapons, whatever. And Joy Behar, what she's concerned about is her trip to Italy. So, I mean, well, whatever. And she wasn't laughing, by the way. There was no applause or laughter that was occurring here. This was just a straight up deadpan.
This was a serious thought from Joy, okay? from joyless Behar. Could you imagine that this woman of a high morality who always trying to lecture us about this and that, about whatever else in the world, look at what she's concerned about. There are people dying to defend their country, and she's worried about, I can't go to Italy. What is wrong with these people? Me, poor Joy, we cannot go to Italy. What's wrong with this woman? These people are insane.
Well, what happens if a nuclear weapon in Italy and takes out the one city, Venice or something, that she was planning on going to? Oh my gosh, she'd really be pissed then.
Yeah, she you know what it means? It means she'd have to change her vacation plans.
Yeah, that's
forever.
Vacation plans.
It's like what's the nuclear half-life in today's? Boy, I don't think she'd ever go back.
Poor Joy. You'll have to shed tears for joyless Joy, who will have to change her vacations.
Well, what's funny too is that she mentioned the pandemic, and I mean the idea that she couldn't go because of the pandemic. Who was promoting the pandemic and the lockdown? They were on The View. They were telling everybody to lock down, and now she's upset with it. But at least the mask's off with the ladies of The View. We know what they're really about.
Yes, of course. Yes.
But that's about all the time we have for our show today. So until the next one, stay free.
Indeed.